Be the last. All right, there we go, man.
All right.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live stream. If you hear a puppy in the background that sounds like he's being tortured,
He
it
is.
is. I started crate training my puppy today, and he's just gonna have to deal with it, man. That's just how it is. He's out there. He's upset, and I don't know. Can you hear him a little bit? Not really, huh?
No, I don't
Good.
hear him.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, then never mind. I love these microphones, man. It looks like you got one of the DJI microphones as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, aren't those cool? You guys see the little green light that's emanating from Michael's
Yeah.
collar there? That's what that is. And I'm going to do a share. I'm going to share this on Facebook, and anybody that's watching this, it takes a little while for people to start gathering around and watching the conversation. And if you're watching it right now, please hit the share button. And I want to mention really quick, too, right here at the beginning about my Patreon supporters. I'll put up a link down to my Patreon page in the comments below. And I'm just getting back from Missouri, and you guys saved my butt. I want to thank you all. I cashed in my Patreon donations and had my RV towed. I bought a plane ticket back home and had a little bit of mishap on the way home from Missouri. So thank you so much for all my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. And if you want to join me on Patreon, I sure would appreciate that. You guys saved my butt. So thank you very much. Michael, do you want to give everybody a quick rundown about who you are and where you're located and all that stuff while I do some sharing here?
Yeah. Yeah. So my name's Mike. I'm in Little Rock. So right in the center of Arkansas, and there's not much here except me, I guess. So a little bit inconsequential there, but yeah, so I do mostly pet dogs, board and trains, private lessons, things of that nature. All kinds of breeds. I think I have a golden retriever, a shepherd, a couple mixed breeds, some rescues right now, and then I have three males of my own. One's about 4 years old, and then one about a year and a half, and one right at a year. Um, and a golden retriever she's something else. Her name's Fancy, but she's anything but. And I train in IGP, so that's kind of where my passion for training is. My personal training is at. Um, so our club is not far from my house, which is I'm fortunate. I know a lot of people have to drive far, but for me, it's about 25 minutes maybe.
Cool.
So pretty good support group there. Guys that have been doing it for 30 plus years, and I think that's pretty much it.
So you have a 4-year-old Malinois. You started in 2017. So you were in training dogs a couple of years before you got the Mal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And what got you initially working with dogs even before that?
Yeah, so I've had dogs and then just training with my own, just kind of for fun. And then one thing just kind of led to another. And, the whole job progression until it just got to the point where I was training dogs more than I was making more money training dogs than I was, working. So it was an easy decision at the time. So, of
I'm a
course,
fan of. Oh, so go ahead.
no, you don't see all the all you see is the ups at that point. You don't see many of the downs until you take on a full-time role.
Yeah, it's a totally different ball game once you start doing it for a living and actually making money doing it, and that's your sole profession.
Yeah, yeah.
um, and I remember Dave Ramsey. I'm a big fan of that guy. If you guys don't know him, he's a Christian that talks about being debt free, and he's got some solid advice. I didn't like him at first. This guy, Dave Ramsey. Do you know who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Mike?
Financial peace, the
Of
financial peace.
course,
Yeah. Yeah.
FPU, Financial Peace University. Um, and he talks about you want to get the boat close to the dock before you get in the boat and take off on your new profession, right? And otherwise, you're going to get wet.
Yeah, yeah,
trying to a lot of people have passion for the dog world, but they don't really have everything in line and how they're going to make that money, right? And they work with dogs. They know they want to do this for a living, but it's very important to kind of figure that out. And there's some fundamental aspects of that that are important to know. And it's cool that you were kind of ahead of the game where you were starting to make more money at that, and then it made it the perfect. It just made sense that you would do that now for a living.
yeah,
And
yeah. I didn't know, before I didn't know how demanding it was, and I think that's probably the perception of a lot of people that are getting in, that make that transfer. It's the most demanding thing that I've ever uh, venture that I've ever been on. So it
hmm,
never stops from sun up to sundown. You're always responsible, so it's always in the back of your mind. Other people's dogs, your dogs. Am I
yes.
progressing enough? Am I moving too fast? Am I moving too slow?
I tell people it's a 24/7 gig.
Oh yeah.
Even when people's dogs are staying with me, and I'm actually placing a dog right now with a gun dog rescue, checking in with the original owners of this dog every single morning, and every other dog that is with me, it's 24/7. Like just 2 nights ago at 10 o'clock, I was getting ready to go to bed, and I took a shower, and I heard a little yelp. I went out there, and one of my Frenchies was kind of walking funny, and it was obvious that something was up with this dog. And so I ended up taking that dog to the hospital till 1:30 in the morning, man.
Oh
And
yeah.
the dog had to stay there overnight, and luckily he's doing good. He hurt his neck, and
Really?
another dog grabbed his collar or something, shook it. His sibling, not his sibling, but his housemate.
Gotcha.
And then I think we're just playing too rough. And I saw it earlier, and I talked to the owner, and I guess that has been a problem lately, that the dog is grabbing the collar of the other dog and shaking it, and I know that's what happened because it was
Yeah, yeah,
his right side of his face and neck, but freaked me out for a little bit. He's doing much better, and luckily nothing but just soft tissue stuff, so it wasn't anything,
yeah, yeah.
no discs or anything like that. Um, we're already getting questions asked. I'll go to the comments section here. We have Gina, a brand new silver school graduate, and commenting already. And we'll talk about the new silver school that you and I just attended in Missouri and earlier this month. What a great time that was. But I
Oh
want to stick
yeah.
on you for a second here and just kind of dial in. So in what aspects is this? What I want to think of other ways that this is demanding, especially for somebody like you that is kind of a little more towards the working dog side, right? And
Yeah.
what turned you on with IGP, and what made you go that route, Mike?
Yeah, so two things really. First of all, it's the only thing available around here as far as dog sports without having to drive for more than 4 hours.
Mm,
We do have a pretty good PSA club here, but they're pretty full. And then so that kind of pushed me into IGP a little bit because it was available. But it didn't take me long to really kind of fall in love with the sport because I really like um, perfection. I like the challenge of making a behavior, complex behavior, look the best that it can and making the dog look the best that it can in that behavior. And I know other sports do the same thing, but so in IGP, everything's routine, right? The routine, it never changes. And so it's not a matter of being able to do the routine. I mean, you can take a Chihuahua and make it work the routine if you work with it long enough, right? But to make it look so in IGP, the challenge is for me to make it look better than the next guy made it look. Um, well, first for me to make it look better this time than it did last time with my own dog, but then trying to perfect, a behavior compared to the next guy. I really like that. I like um, the challenge of making a dog look passionate in a behavior that is so demanding and requires so much perfection.
and
And
IGP, is that Schutzhund or is it
yes,
different from
yeah, yeah,
Schutzhund? It's the
yeah,
same thing. Okay.
it is.
Just
Yeah,
another word. So it's a three-part process of obedience, tracking, and bite work, right? Or what do
right.
they? Okay. And that's fascinating too, that those three aspects in themselves, they're an inch wide and a mile deep. You can go
Oh
crazy
yeah.
with just each one of those three aspects of the IGP sport.
Yeah, and they balance each other out. You take bite work where a dog needs to show as much drive as it possibly has, and then but under control. And then you take that same dog and put that dog on a track where it has to show 100% focus on on an exercise that focus, but not necessarily like just wild drive. So it really creates a balanced dog, and then you're taking two different, something that's under control. They're both under control, but you take something that's you really have to have a lot of. Um, it's a balancing act, where you want a dog to go full speed into a bite and show as much passion and power, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you want that same dog to use his nose and follow something that's so precise. So there's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot of being able to exert. The dog being able to exert itself and.
Well, it's constant polishing too, and I like how you said about perfection. Making it into something that is it not just looks good, but we can always improve, right? It's a
Right.
constantly improving, constantly taking steps, and that's where we have three facets of this sport, and where the dog, excuse me, might lack in one aspect, they excel in another. And how do we utilize that motivated intrinsic desire of that dog to speak to them, to help them perfect this other aspect of the sport? Does that make
Right.
sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Being able to link the net, like Bart always says, linking networks, where you're linking things together and trying to pull the passion from one exercise into the other. And it's very systematic. I think it's the same thing that drew me to NePoPo, was that, the system part of training. I work good within a system. Show me the rules, show me what needs to be done, and then let me figure out how to do it.
That's me too, man.
I enjoy it.
Well, and show me the framework here. Show me
Right.
the framework, show me the concepts, and then let me go. Let me do my own thing. Don't hold my hand every aspect of the way, because I don't like a boss. I don't like to be managed, right? And so that's another aspect of the NePoPo that I love, that attracted me to it. Was like, well, first off, what attracted me to it was seeing the dogs,
Yeah.
right? And just seeing that there's just next level, man, and that they're in their element, and they're enjoying this. And it's
Yeah.
obvious, especially for people like us who are professionals that have been working with dogs. Like, it's very easy for us to see a flat dog, or a dog that is
Sure.
doing it because they must do it, and not just because they must, but they want to do it as well. That's the other aspect of this that is that attracted me to that kind of philosophy. And then having the framework, but also being like, make this your own. Really, really, it got me hooked. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I know it as a pet dog trainer, but as somebody that works with hunting dogs as well, right? There's so many aspects of the hunt,
Yeah.
using the nose, using the eyes, practicing restraint, teaching that dog how to discern, and then also utilizing the e-collars to teach the behavior, to shape the behavior, to correct the behavior once the behavior is known, and to motivate that dog as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now in IGP, you can't use e-collars, right?
Yeah. No, not on the trial field. They're not allowed.
Okay. But
So
it's still something that's valuable,
yeah, I
even.
mean, there's ways to manipulate that too, right? I mean, the progression, in the pyramid, stimulus control. And for those that don't know, I'll just, once you get in the popo, we kind of the systems are designed in triangles so that you see different levels, and then once you get to the top and you have stimulus control, you should be at that's trial level. To me, that's where you have to be at a trial level, and to be
Absolutely.
there, you really have to. It's again another balancing act between going between um, perfected stimulus control where the dog reacts, to your cue on cue with heart and soul, and then also dropping down into, a reinforcement stage or level of training. So the dog always has to know that there's a reinforcement possibility. Might not be there, but the possibility is there. And it's just it's such a perfect system, And if with each individual dog, if you know where you're at in this system, especially, in anything, but I relate back to sports, it just makes it easy to know when a dog's ready as well. So,
I think when we start to, and with the pyramid, what we're talking about is that we have that first level, right, which is the beginner down on the bottom here, where we're helping that dog, right? And then when in the middle, we're kind of helping that dog a little bit. But then we get to the top of the pyramid where where it's reflexive, we're on voice commands. And it's important to know that individual dog. And just like Mike says, that we need to know where we're at with that individual dog. And talking to some of the students recently at the class, great questions and great conversations that we had after the little seminars and stuff out in the parking lot with people, and I could just see their wheels turning in their head and trying to make sense out of this,
yeah,
right? And it takes a while, even for us, man. It takes, Bart says, 5
yeah,
years to really get this, okay? But when we're taking and switching levels and during the learning process with that dog, there are times that dog is going to show us through their behavior if they're ready for that next level, right? And they start to, I mean, they start to invent their own possibilities in a way, right? And they start to, um, push the boundaries. And I'm trying to think of a good way to say this, because I was talking to a student, and she was talking about, like, we don't always correct that dog if the dog disobeys, and it's like, no, we don't, because sometimes that dog is pushing those boundaries into that
yeah.
next level, right? Does that make sense to you, Mike?
Yeah, I love it when a dog pushes the boundaries. It if you build up a dog where that's passionate about working, and that's not easy. To me, that's the art of NePoPo,
Mhm.
rather than the science. All science, but the art of it is being able to build that heart and soul into dog, that passion, that pushiness, the dog that wants to see how much it can get away with, but it's a game to it, and that's where that's the to me, being a technical guy, my first major in college was engineering, so I really liked the technical aspects of everything. It switched later on actually to um, apologetics, but there you go again, right? Systems and
Mhm.
facts and theories, and I enjoy that stuff. And so for me, it's real hard sometimes to uh, move outside of that framework and let the dog build passion into a dog. But that's where the pushiness comes from, is letting that dog, kind of get away. The dog, I'm trying to figure out the right words to say, but you let the dog kind of get away with things. Let the dog feel powerful. Let the dog feel um, like, it's manipulating you when, all along you're in control. It's a game of chess, really. And
That's where the art comes in, right? And
yeah,
just like we're being creative in this aspect of making the fundamentals our own, we're also teaching that dog to be creative as well. And that's the other aspect of this about the operant stuff. Like specificity is the enemy of the antithesis of creativity. And
yeah,
sometimes that
yeah,
dog
yeah.
is going to offer a behavior that we never in a million years would have thought. And now
Right.
we have a way to mark and to pay that dog for doing that. And
Yeah.
and so not only are you the artist in this, but the dog is the artist in their own way.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's a
It's
beautiful
exciting,
thing.
really.
What's that?
I said it's exciting, really, So you never know what you're going to get. And
And sometimes that's why it's good to know and also have a network of people that you can fall back on. So you have dogs that, it's important to know too that, look, we can make a dog too tough. We can do this in a way that we have to recognize when we need to pull back and when we can push forward on this as well. And that's what's important about knowing each dog. And I want to start to get to the comments. We got a bunch here, so I want to just kind of bear with me for a second while we go here. We have a question already for you, Michael. Do you have a gold school planned?
Yeah, so I should know that date off the top of my head, especially coming on here. So I believe it's mid-September sometime, and so it's in Seymour. It's at Jackie's place in Seymour, Missouri. So
Okay.
for those that aren't familiar, that's about 45 minutes to an hour east of Springfield, where the new Silver School was. So yeah, me and Dominic Goetz from he's in Germany is where he's at. So we've partnered up to do a gold school in Missouri, mid-September.
Mid-September. We'll put the dates and information in the comment section below. Let me see. Isabel and Billy listening in Rainier, Washington. Thanks, Mike and Bill, for sharing knowledge with us. Well, thank you, Billy, for being here. And you guys go ahead and hit share if you don't mind. Get this out as to many people as possible, especially while we're live. The vast majority of people watch this after the fact. Hello, guys. Hello, Teresa.
Arkansas there, Teresa.
Is she? Fellow Arkansas.
Yeah.
What do you call them? Arkansas.
Arkansan. Yeah.
There we go.
She's from the pretty part of the state, though.
I was going to say Arkansanian.
Yeah.
Where's your headgear?
Yeah, so that's a good question.
Oh, you don't have head like your ear?
No, I think he's talking about. I usually have a bandana on, but
Oh, there you go.
yeah. So
what's up, Joe? Fellow gold multiplicator there with us. Joe is doing a gold school as well.
Yeah, he has one of the coolest logos, I think.
Joe does?
The H with the ear. The H on the Hodge canine, and then it's got the ear down on the H. It's not an ear, but it looks like an ear. So it's pretty catchy.
Go it now because I have to see what you're talking about here. Hodge Canine. We're good. Oh, I see it. That is a good logo.
Yeah,
man.
it's real subtle, isn't it? Yeah, catchy, subtle.
I like logos like that. So up here, we're looking at the H.
Yeah.
With the ear right there. Very simple and very cool, man. Yeah, Joe's the man. We've had him on a live stream as well. Hey, Joe. And then that's the beauty of this is that there's multiple gold schools throughout the world, new gold schools, right? And so, but you have to have your prerequisite that you do have to be a silver, certified silver trainer with the new silver school as well. And there's the next one coming up in Missouri in November. And if you guys are interested, join that. I'll put up a link. Go to NePoPo.com, NePoPotraining.com. Von Bear Canine. What's up, JD? He's watching from YouTube. If you guys wouldn't mind heading over to YouTube, subscribing to my YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate that. It looks like 70% of the people that watch the videos on YouTube are not subscribed. So do me a favor and run over there and subscribe. We have Don. What's up, Don?
There he is.
Here. And then hooligan is a good word for pushy, maybe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's important too that and this is what they spoke about in class is like there's a time for beers and cigarettes as puppies. Like there's stations in this dog's life and we want to let them be the dog that they are, right? Like this dog out, I'm just crate training him today, this little puppy, and he's a little hooligan, man, and I let him be a hooligan. I let him be the puppy that he is and explore the world and be crazy. I advocate for him with the other dogs. I'm not going to let him get into trouble with them by being a puppy, but it's something that is very important to know the expectations and the timeline of the training and to not get frustrated, to know that there is a process that is here, and to not expect too much from our dogs when they're not really capable of it, right? That's
for sure
a disservice to them.
It's an easy trap.
It's an easy trap, man, especially when you get gung-ho after going to these schools and stuff and you want to work.
Yeah.
You got to give it time, and not only that, but give yourself time.
Sure.
I see people go in like back to back to back to different seminars, different schools, and I want to tell a man, give it some time. Each aspect
Sure.
of a school, right? Give it some time to soak in.
You
Don't just
have
flood
to,
yourself.
yeah.
Do you agree?
Especially with this system, you know, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, right? And
Yes.
then um, it just even this last silver school, the new silver school, I heard Bart say one phrase, and it just unlocked something in my mind. And it, you know, he's talking. We desensitize, not really desensitize dogs, but use classical conditioning to toughen dogs, right? Um, to make them anticipate reward after pressure rather than pressure means pressure. And then he talked about how, of course, it's in every school, I'm sure, but how, you know, when they used to breed dogs, it used to be the tough dogs, the dog in the litter that didn't want to socialize with people. That would be the dog they choose. The dog that didn't chase the ball, that's the dog that they would choose. And the things have kind of flipped now, so that we want the dog that chases the ball. We want the dog that runs up to you. You know, it's not, you know, people sensitive or uh, just kind of disassociated with everything. And but those are dopamine dogs, right? And so, but we can build through classical conditioning a love for pressure and a want for pressure. And the phrase that he used that kind of caught my attention was when he said, you know, we're manufacturing artificial endorphins. You know, we're really just creating a dopamine response to what used to be an endorphin, right? You got dopamines and endorphins. Dopamines are the chemicals released by pleasure, or they cause pleasure, but they're released by things that are comforting. And then on the other hand, we have endorphins, dogs that kind of their response to pressure is a little more. They're kind of comforted by that sort of thing, and but condition one to the other, and but when he said artificial endorphins, that really clicked in my mind. Like, hey, that's the whole process of pressure. 1.6 seconds reward, and
Well, and I look at it as endorphins as like toughness, right?
yeah,
The endorphins, and then the dopamine is the motivation, right?
sure,
And so endorphins are relieve pain, and
yeah,
as it's being experienced, dopamine motivates to push through challenges, and provides us a reward, an intrinsic or a natural reward that we get of like, like the runner's high, right? That we have
yeah, yeah,
endorphins that
yeah,
when we're running through that race, and then we have the dopamine once we're finished, man. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
I
Uh,
went to first silver school in 2018, and I haven't been back. There's been so much that's been happening in my world. And then I actually went through a couple gold schools. But this was really cool, man. And I took all the tests, and phew, right. I tell you what, man, those tests,
yeah,
they really, even as somebody that I'm like, I'm good, I'm past this. And I was a little freaked out by the tests too, man. Like, but I'm happy to report that I did very well on the test, even after 5 years of not taking it. And so that speaks to
yeah,
um, the value of the learning process and the learning experience, right? And um, that's, you're gonna pick up something all the time. And
yeah,
so I just want to go back and just like say, the people that go through silver, give it some time to soak in, and especially through these gold schools too, as you start to go through other gold schools, because there's so many that are being offered. Try to give it some time. I always break it down to a 3-part process, right? We prepare for the school, and that's one part of the process. And a lot of times there's some aspects of preparation that we'll be doing, and I'll be doing that with my new gold school that I'm setting up now. Mine's going to be kind of out there. Mine's going to be at least a week long. And so it's going to be 7. I want it to be 10 days of a gold school is my goal. And then there's going to be some things that you have to prepare to come to that. And then there's the experience of the school itself. And then there's the processing afterwards. So it's a 3-part process of that, and allow the processing to occur. And same thing with the dogs. Whenever we are teaching these dogs, there's what we call soak time, or what I call soak time, where you soak that dog, put them in a crate, let that information soak into that brain,
Yeah.
and let those neural connections take hold. Do you use soak time in what you do, or do you call it something else? Or
Yeah, you mean for the dog
yeah,
or? Oh,
for the,
absolutely. Yeah. And there's days whenever, like if I have a board and train, there's times when I'll just decide, I think we'd be better off today just letting a dog just do nothing, just think about what happened the day before. And I think that the rest time after a training session is just as important as the training session, because especially for a dog. I read a few books actually. You may be familiar with NLP, neuro linguistic programming.
of course.
Yeah. So one of the things that I thought were interesting was how many bits of information that your mind sees throughout the day, right? So
Yes.
just millions of bits of information that a brain takes in. How many things you see, what colors are those things, were those things moving, how many of those things were there? Just everything you see is a bit. But the human brain can only process about 2,000 bits of information a day. So how does the brain decide, out of everything that you see, what makes up those bits of information? Your reticular activating system, the system in your brain that decides what to retain and then what to disregard, what's important, what's not important. Those are your values, right? So
Absolutely.
how many you never notice, you never you if you have a blue van, chances are you'll notice every other blue van on the road. But if you don't have a blue van, you're not going to notice them, right? And so how many mouths have I seen in my lifetime that I didn't know, hey, that's a mouth,
Hmm.
or, and that's just an example, but until you have those breeds, until you're interested in those breeds. Same thing with a dog. So you get a dog out, right? And a dog's brain is only going to retain so much information.
Mm.
And so when you go through a training session, if you just go into a free for all after that training session, the dog goes and plays. Some of that's important because you want the dog to know um, you're not going to jail right after a session. But
Right.
it's if a dog has downtime, then it has time for its mind to process, and it needs that space where it's in a tranquil environment, where it's kind of there's no distractions, and so the only thing the dog has to do is to think. And what's it going to think about? Chances are it's going to think about what just happened. So it's going to process that training session. I think it's very important.
Yeah,
So
and that it's not viewed as a negative punishment. We're putting the dog
right.
in jail. We're going to have a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
fun. We're ending on a good note. Um, and that's why we have a conscious mind as human beings and a subconscious mind as 70,000 thoughts each day, right?
Yeah.
And we're only aware of a fraction of those for good reason. And through our day-to-day life, they say that there's about 74 gigabytes of data that we
Geez.
process every single day in our brain. And there's a book, man, I got to put it up here, The User Illusion. Have you heard of that one?
No. Who's the
Oh,
author? I guess you're going to put it up, so I'll see.
yeah, Tor. I don't know how to spell his last name. Tor, or how to say his last name. Nora. It's Noran Tranders. Noran Tranders. You guys, this book blows my mind. I watched a thing on Jordan Peterson where he was talking to this gentleman from that has to do with AI, artificial intelligence, right? And I just posted up in the comments there. Check, you got to get this book, Mike. It's really good. And it was written in the early 90s, and basically it talks about how the interface of how we interact, right? And so right now I'm looking at a screen with a little hole that's the camera right up here, right? And we're talking, and I'm using my hands, right, to put up data, and then we have these little screens here, right, that we use,
Yeah.
and a lot of times we're just communicating with our thumb sliding on this little black screen, and we're not looking at all the little aspects of who we are or what makes up this technology, all the chips, all the little little electromagnetic frequencies and bits that are going into making this what we see as our interface and what we are, what a lot of people call our consciousness or our experience, right? And like I am a tangle of neurons, I am a tangle of, or I am a, like we can break it down all the way to the atoms, right? I am 10 to the 24th
Sure.
power, right? That's what makes up the average human body, which is a huge number. It is a billions of trillions of atoms, and or a million trillion, that I don't even know how to explain the number. But and then we have systems, right, that are all working in harmony together. And then we also have flora and fauna on the body, in the body, probiotic bacteria that's benefiting us, that's helping us at and if we start to chunk it down, and it will get overwhelmed by the intricacies that make up this interface. And it's so much easier to just
Yeah.
kind of have the
Sure.
concept of our fundamental experience. And it's very simplistic. And but when you start getting into that aspect of it, and also looking at degradation of heat and just it gets so deep, and it's fascinating. But that's what we are, and it's important to know that in some element so we can appreciate it, in my opinion. So check that book out, man.
Yeah.
User Illusion. It blew my mind. I mean, these guys were like, I read that book every year. That's what Jordan Peterson says, he reads it every year. So does this gentleman that he was talking to. And after reading
Wow.
that book, I was like, I know why. It
Wow.
just sends you off onto a lot of different just tangents in your mind, and it's fascinating, dude.
Yeah, I
So
will. I'll have to check that out.
yeah, highly recommend it. And it's important to know that that's the same way with the dog. And it's important to know it's the same way with the people that we teach, not just our clients but our colleagues as well. And I think that that's why you kind of like this, teaching very complex ideas, technical ideas, and kind of breaking it down. What are some ways that you do that with your dog training clients?
Yeah, so just on the basics, it's if I get a lot of, do you train in positive reinforcement, or especially with, I don't really get it with board and trains a lot because they just they see results from dogs, videos, things like that, reviews, and then they just send their dog. They're happy. A lot of word of mouth stuff too, but with private lessons, breaking it down and making it make sense to people, to me is, just for example, positive reinforcement is real easy for people to understand. I mean, negative reinforcement should be too, but I guess the initial concepts of positive reinforcement is real easy for people.
Hmm.
So, but when you explain to them, if you want to stay in that system, that's fine. We can do that. I'll show you a better way later, or things that we can add on later. But when you can lay out, let's just say, the positive reinforcement triangle in the system, right? Help the dog, help the dog, help the dog, and then uh, you get to the middle portion of the triangle, the proofing stage, or whatever you want to call it, and then, but really, when you get to the top of the triangle and you show them that, the punishment, or I mean, that's what it is, right? Punishment, negative punishment. When you show them that the only consequence that you can provide is taking food away, and then you show them how the only correct, the only acceptable correction that you can give a dog is by taking the food away, negative punishment. Um, you're very limited. And this is why you're limited. You're limited because that's the language that you're in. That's what you've taught the dog, is that if I do something correct, I get, a reward. If I don't do something correct, I don't get that. Now, in a good positive reinforcement training regiment, that's all you have. And so you can't correct any other way. You have no utilities that that are available to you to use. You can, but it's not fair to the dog because you haven't taught the dog what those things mean. And so when you can explain it to a client why other systems or including other systems in training are more beneficial, because you're not just adding something, but you're removing limitations that you have in training. So, and why it's only fair to include other systems if you ever expect to be able to correct a dog. I just enjoy the why. I made that video, recently, and in the video explanation, it was with my dog Legend. I said that in any profession, any field, a professional knows the whys of something, and when you can break that down into a system of why we do this and why we don't do that, why we don't use a certain correction in positive reinforcement, it makes sense to clients. So I have a client that I just did the second lesson with them yesterday, actually. And before at my first lesson, she had already done her research online. She was looking through the different trainers in the area, and she looked on the AKC website for evaluators, and then she found my name, then she looked at some others, and then she went back to my name, and then she looked me up online, and she found, pointing to the logo on my shirt, but she found on my Facebook page where it talks about NePoPo. So then she started doing research in NePoPo, and she'll probably end up going to school. She's just that, she's just that intrigued with the system. And it turns out that they're engineers as well. So I think that it just, I really rambled on a lot there, but.
Oh, you're good, man. Well, I think that it benefits not just in dog training, but when you start to understand the fundamentals, and it benefits you in life. It benefits you with teaching others, and the why. I often tell people the why is our power.
Yeah.
Otherwise
Absolutely.
we're spinning our wheels in causality. We don't know why we're doing this, but we're doing it, right? And some people are okay with it, but I'm not, man. I question everything, dude, and I want to make. I need it to make sense. I need it to make sense. Otherwise, I just can't. I mean, I can't do it. There's some things that absolutely I can't. Like I rebuild my engine in my car and stuff like that, right? But once I rebuild my engine in my car, when something goes wrong, I mean, there's like this kind of solace because you know the why this engine, how this engine, everything, why it would go wrong, or what's possibly going to go wrong next if you tweak this, and that might have an effect on this as well. And I think when people are looking for the positive only, first off, I get it, because look, we love our animals, and especially in the pet dog world, we're in the emotional arena. People love these dogs, and sometimes they love them too much. Right, where it becomes an imbalance, and that's where they're looking for help. But that imbalance kind of carries over to the help that they're looking for in their perception, right? Because they love this animal so much, but you got to remember that a lot of times loving this animal so much might have gotten you off in the relationship, or off into the ditch with the relationship, right?
Emotion trumps logic every time, until you can speak. If you can speak to a logic person logically, then really, then you can be passionate about it, and they will be too, because they can see the truth behind something, right? Logic is always what the facts is what makes sense, right? Up is up, down is down. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But if you talk in emotion has no sense often. But it just doesn't. Facts don't matter when you're talking about emotion, and when you're talking logically about what makes sense, then often people will see that, and then it reins people in. So
I tell people, don't believe me, your dog will show you if I know what I'm talking about, right? And there's a reason why so many Fortune 500 companies want their products viewed in the emotional arena, because right? We're 10
Sure.
times, like you say, emotion trumps logic every time. And I'm like, dude, we're 10 times more likely to act based on emotion
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
we are on pure logic,
Yeah.
right? And
Buzzwords. You see it in politics all the time. So
right. And that's what, like, the emotional arena people getting to respond. And I've actually talked to politicians. I've worked with some of them, and I mean, it's all a charade, dude. Like, it's all a charade in front of the cameras. These guys are totally different people behind the scenes when the camera's not on them than they
sure.
are because they want to evoke that emotional response,
Yeah.
right? And when we have the logic and the why behind, instead of trying to think with our emotions, which we cannot, that's important to know. You
Yeah.
can't think
Yeah. Yeah.
with your emotions, right? You think with your brain, you think with
Yeah.
logic. Sometimes we'll use emotions to know if this is right or wrong, but sometimes our emotions can deceive us,
Yeah.
right? Because we have a lot of neurological baggage. We have a lot through our experiences, and it's important to know, like, just like you were saying about what I call our reticular activating system, right? The NLP stuff. The reticular activator is, if you have a blue van, now you're noticing all the blue vans, right? And especially your make and model and your year of that blue van, automatically, boom, at the stoplight, you're going to be like right there, tuned in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this, we call a psycho-cybernetic mechanism in our brain, right? It's just kind of an autopilot thing. Like, if we go into a ship and we set our coordinates on our ship and we put the autopilot on and we go take a nap, we wake up, we're still on course, right? And anything that get a gust of wind that starts to deviate us off course, then that autopilot mechanism just automatically takes and puts in the properties that are going to put us right back on course. And once we're on course, then it just maintains, because that's the fundamental settings that have happened. And it's the same thing um, with our emotions, and we get addicted to them,
Yeah.
and sometimes people are so addicted to them that they aren't aware logically
Yeah.
that they are addicted to these emotions.
Sure.
And that's where I get it. And 90% of the people that I work with are women in the pet dog world. Do you find that do you find
Yeah.
you work with more women than men?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And it's not saying that it's, I mean, one is better than the other. I think that women have an aspect, a nurturing aspect, that is an emotionally based
Sure.
aspect, right?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want a larger return on investment on running ads, then cancel out the men and just run them to
Well,
women. Like,
and I'm telling my man, you need to get a little bit more emotional. You need to bond
yeah.
with this dog,
Yeah.
right? Where a lot of times the women have become too nurturing, and the dog looks at him like a sucker.
Yeah. Or bites them. The dog's all not bite aggressive, but so I have a client right now, and she is, her arms are all bruised up, teeth marks, and it's because she's the one that the dog is engaged with, right? And so takes advantage, and she takes advantage. The dog takes advantage. The pit bull too takes advantage of her
Mm.
because she is that nurturing. The dog gets what it needs from her, so it needs a little less nurture in that instance. So
And how would you explain, what does that dog, a little bit less nurture and a little bit more clarity through
yeah,
through through
rule.
through
Yeah,
rules, right? And
yeah,
boundaries, and I tell them, look, man, I love the nurturing aspect of my wife. I love the nurturing aspect of the females. I love the nurturing aspect of myself, right? And we have to acknowledge that. But you're talking to me as a professional, and we're in a situation here, and you're asking for my help. And I have to be honest, I owe you that morally. It's my moral obligation to give you the truth.
yeah.
And it's not that I just want to say, look, man, there's aspects of each one of us that we're born with that is fundamentally, capable and knowledgeable of doing the right thing. And as somebody that is a professional that owes them the truth, I also owe them a way of understanding this.
That's a
And
good way of putting it.
does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how do you apply this so
Yeah,
that so that me as a teacher, first off, I'm teaching you this in a way, where I'm asking a lot of questions and getting you to understand, and through analogies, we can kind of figure out like where we're at from a
yeah,
30,000-foot view, right? Without,
sure.
because we're already so emotional that I don't want to make that emotion backfire on me and what I'm trying to teach you.
Yeah. And most mainstream dog trainers can't do that. They can't explain it in a way. Um, they can't tell a client. They can't break it down in a way that makes sense to them. And so they have to appeal to, you read a client right now, you have to appeal to their emotions on giving them exactly what they want. When
Mhm.
what they want may not be the way to get what they want, is not what they expect, right? So same client, right? Biting, it's a pit bull mix, right? The dog is constantly biting on her. It's a sweet dog, loves everybody, but constantly biting on her. And so their solution was to don't play tug with the dog, don't play ball with the dog. We don't want to make it worse, right? So I mean, naturally, and a lot of trainers, and they actually went to another trainer before me, a trainer that's highly regarded from coast to coast, in sport world, pet dog world, mainly in the sport world, and then came to. But now my advice is completely opposite, and it only makes sense. What the genetics of that dog? That dog wants to bite. That dog wants to. It needs to look at the jaws on that dog. It is made to. The DNA in that dog is to bite something. So let's use that, and don't keep that from the dog, but give that to the dog. But now we can give that to the dog with rules. We can give that to the dog with structure, and you're going to fulfill the need for the dog, that's innate within the dog to bite and to pull and to tug, and you're going to stop your arm from being the focus of that bite and the pull and the tug, because you're going to become the rule giver, right? And you're going to become the provider of the outlet, uh, that the dog of the biting, right? The tug. You're the provider of the tug toy. You're the provider of the ball. You're not the object to bite. You know.
Well, and it's denying that dog its purpose,
Sure.
and we
And it
can't do
won't
that.
work.
Yeah.
In the end, all you're going to do is build up frustration, and that might come out in a way you don't want it to come out.
Yeah, this dog was bred for a specific
Yeah.
thing, right? And it's versatile, and a lot of times it's very, very precise, and we have to look at that dog, and to deny that dog that is a disservice to that animal in my
Sure.
opinion.
Yep.
Because why would you have that dog, right? It's like, no, this dog needs to hunt, this dog needs to bite, this dog needs to track, this dog needs fulfillment. And,
Right.
I often tell people I'm kind of like an attorney for the animal. I represent their best interests,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
situation. And by denying them that, we're just going to, kind of, invite another set of problems here where that dog is going to find an outlet for this. It
Right.
might as well find purpose in the relationship that you have. And sometimes it gets uncomfortable talking to people, right? Because
Sure.
they're so emotionally based. But if we appeal to their emotion and we're always trying to placate them, as pathos, it's an appeal to emotion is a logical fallacy.
Sure.
It's you make them want to feel the way you feel, or they're making you feel the way that they feel, and they're controlling that situation. And I mean, it doesn't boil down to control, but they're hiring you to fix this problem. And if
Sure.
they're controlling the situation with you as well, you're not going to fix this problem, man.
Yeah.
Like, and so we have to introduce logic. And a lot of times I'm like, why did we get this dog?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they got the dog because they're at the pound, and I felt so bad for it, right? And so
Yeah.
even
Yeah. Yeah.
the very, very start of this relationship started with an appeal to emotion for that person. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, we got the dog now. You love the dog, and we need to A, fix this problem, B, have some avenues that the dog can vent their frustration, and you can become a little bit more stronger in your knowledge of what is going on here, the why is this happening, and the how do we get to a better place?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's our job as a professional, right?
Sure.
Pro is benefit.
Yeah. Why does the
Right?
dog do what it does? And then how can we manipulate that, so that the dog finds its benefit in what
Yes.
we want? So,
Yeah, and that's the aspect, or that's the importance. It expresses the importance of knowing this stuff, and knowing, like, we have, there's a few roads that lead to Rome here, right? But there's ways that we can structure and have the tools available to us.
yeah.
Now, what about e-collars, man? When you talk to your clients, and I do use e-collars, but I only use one e-collar right now. I only use the Martin Systems because I think that it's an amazing tool. Um, and a lot of people are really, really, they just have a misconception about the e-collar.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, how do you start the conversation
Well,
with the e-collar?
yeah. So, generally, if a client comes to me, they know what style of training I do and kind of the tools that I have in my toolbox, but not always. But even when they do, though, I still like to remove apprehensions, right? So, because usually there is some sort of apprehension, right? There's propaganda everywhere, so you've got to always almost assume that that's there and try to work around it. Work through it, really, because propaganda is exactly that. It's propaganda, and you can demystify it real fast. And so it's just negative reinforcement, right? Your tactile commands, your leash pressure, using your mechanicals in training. And then I just explained to them, one more form of negative reinforcement. Once they understand negative reinforcement, tactile commands, a little bit of pressure, spatial pressure. One of the ways I like to demonstrate negative reinforcement is have a dog eating out of a bowl, right? Put the bowl in the middle of the floor, the dog's eating out of the bowl, and then you just kind of walk around. And that dog, if you walk a circle around that bowl and around that dog, the dog will move.
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, the dog's going to move so that he's always facing you, right? Or he's just, yeah, absolutely. Even with his head down, he'll have eyes on you and move around, kind of following you as you walk around him. That's negative reinforcement, right? Spatial pressure. Um, and so an e-collar is no different than that. Once they understand fully negative reinforcement, then the e-collar is just, it comes so simple. It's just another form of communication. It's another form of being able to reach out to the dog.
I
So
think people hear positive and negative, and they think positive and
yeah,
negative, right?
absolutely.
And I
Yeah,
don't blame them one bit. Where we say positive, we're adding something. When we say
yeah,
negative, we're taking something away,
yeah.
right?
I
And so that's
posted a video. I posted a video this morning, and in the video it said it comes out, black screen with some white letters that says negative reinforcement, and then the next slide is what it really looks like, and then I just take 4 or 5 dogs, just board and trains that I have right now, and just tactile pressure, just tapping them on the back, on the butt end, underneath them, just simple negative reinforcement, just simple touching the dog until the dog gives in to the touch.
Mhm.
And so that's
And
really,
realize. Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Mark.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
you.
negative reinforcement at its core. So,
That's right. Do you know what? I don't even have you in my headphones, dude. That's what I'm just realizing. That's so funny.
oh, you're hearing me outside of your headphones, huh?
Yeah, there we go. Does it sound different on the TV or on the
No,
to you, right?
sounds the same to me.
Okay. That's so funny. I've had my headphones on this whole time, my headgear, and it hasn't been in here. Well, and there's also a time too. And it's like I'm gonna go back to where we were talking about our board and trains, and there's a time that I'm building a bond with this dog, man. Like I haven't even put on this e-collar on this hunting dog that I have here now because I just wanted him to get comfortable here. But yesterday, he's ready for that e-collar, man. Right.
Yeah,
Because he's ready. He's like, okay, dude, I love this place. Like
yeah,
I'm done exploring, I'm done being timid, I'm pushing, and I'm just like, okay, buddy, you're ready for
yeah,
the e-collar,
yeah,
and so um that's the other aspect, is like knowing when the dog is ready for this stuff, and each individual dog, as we were saying earlier, is and that's where the art comes in, is knowing when that dog is ready. But I tell people, look, I don't need a cell phone, I don't need an iPhone, but I choose to have one because of the
Sure.
capability of the communication that
Yeah.
allows, right? And
Yeah.
the same with that e-collar is like, look, this allows us to talk to that dog in many different ways, and not only that, but far away, close up, um, and how we reinforce how we can. I love that it's impersonal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Right.
So I have a dog that I've had for about a week now, and doesn't want to train for food, doesn't want to train for, really doesn't care about the ball, doesn't care about nothing. There's nothing that motivates this dog. So, you got to do something, right? So, the dog's been having the e-collar on. Start off putting the e-collar on the dog so that they get used to wearing it. And so we just go out in the yard. It's a completely fenced in area and low level, as low as you can get. And just start tapping. Just sit down. Have a little placemat out there, a few of them. Just sit down on one of them, and we're a week into a 3-week or 4-week board and train, and we got to make something's got to work. So just start tapping on the collar. Dog instantly comes to me. Low level, really low level. And some dogs not so low level because they can blow it off and ignore it real fast. But where low level, the dog comes instantly. Whereas food wasn't working, a ball wasn't working, but that tapping, on the collar, it instantly made sense to the dog. So
Interesting.
it, negative reinforcement's in nature, whereas positive reinforcement it is, but negative reinforcement is around every corner.
Mm-hmm.
If a dog just lays there in one spot long enough, then it's going to experience negative reinforcement, right? That side's going to get sore. It's going to roll over instantly. The pressure's relieved. So just doing nothing will incite negative reinforcement just through removal of a slight discomfort.
Laying out in the sun and
Yeah.
moving to the shade.
Yep.
Laying on one side, flipping it over, laying to the other. Your foot goes to sleep. In the human world, man, we got negative reinforcement when we go and sit in our car, and then the dinging of that
Absolutely.
seatbelt, and that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, this is negative reinforcement. They're like,
Yeah.
shut up, Bill. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of time.
I mean,
and some
really,
people
it's everywhere. The discomfort of having to go pee, right? Your body's telling you. At first, it's just slightly discomfort, but you know what it means. You relieve pressure, now you feel better, right?
right.
So, and the longer you wait, the more you ignore it, the more the pressure builds, the worse it feels. You're going to give into it eventually. Now, you take that same kid, right? You teach it. I mean, he's going to pee. You don't have to teach a kid to pee. The pressure's there. The kid pees, right? Now you give a piece of candy to the kid for going to the bathroom and peeing. What do you got? Pressure, relief of pressure, reward. You got NePoPo, right?
Yep.
So
or stickers if you don't want it, like those little Spider-Man stickers, right?
Yeah,
That's what that was my secret, dude. I'd have all these stickers for my nieces and nephews, and I'd show it to them, and I'd be like, "Hey, man, use that bathroom and make that potty go splash whenever you need to, and put up a little sticker for you up on the sticker wall or whatever, and then they get to pick what sticker they want, right? And so and it's just something of value to that child or that person. Now, the other thing that I've noticed is, like, on the earlier models of the Prius, I was talking to my buddy and I was like, dude, are you at the gas station? What's that beeping noise? And he's like, oh, that's my seatbelt thing. It's going to go away here pretty soon. Right. And so if they know that this thing is going to go away, then that might not have an effect on that behavior, where, like, a newer car, that stuff's not going away until you buckle that seatbelt, right? And so until you take the action. And some people, it doesn't bother as much. And that was so fascinating to me that I'm like, oh wow, man. So did you put on your seatbelt? He's like, no, I just wait for it to go away. And now he doesn't even hear it. Like, he's sitting there talking to me, and I'm like, bro, what is that beeping in the background? He's like, oh, that's and he literally did not even hear it. Right. And so we can tune things out if we know that that's just that slight discomfort is going to go away without us doing anything. But I think that if we are the ones that are are doing um, the taking away the action that takes it away, that's going to have a much more effect on the learning
Sure.
experience, and that's why the e-collar and understanding that,
Yeah.
right, and also being patient with that dog. One of the things that I learned from Bart was, and I'm so grateful with the Gold School that I went to with Bart, with that I had my dogs there, right, and working through things with my dog, and Bart would just go like, "Bill, let the dog do." Like, because I was
Oh
trying to get
yeah.
in there and trying to manipulate the situation, where sometimes it takes time, and it takes that dog to realize that they're the master of this situation, and that goes back to that learning pyramid, where we let that dog do, let the dog figure out, "Oh, if I did this, that gave me the outcome that I was looking for," right? And it's so that's why I say I wish I had this understanding as an early dog trainer, because I've developed habits through not knowing what I don't know that has impeded the learning process of some of these animals, and I wish I can go back in time and,
Well, especially as a man, or not even necessarily a man, but as a doer, somebody who's a doer, it's difficult to sit back and let the dog do, you know, it's difficult to let the dog try to figure it out when, you could step in and make it happen. But man, the results in the end are night and day, between you helping the dog and letting the dog figure it out. It,
well, and I think that that's what's cool about role playing that they do in the class too, and also knowing when the hope is starting to dissipate, right? And that's
yeah,
where that becomes it becomes an art, man, and knowing each individual dog
yeah,
and the
yeah,
perseverance of that dog, and how to shape and reward the behavior, but also how to limit the aquarium, how to shut down that
sure,
space a little bit to make it a little bit easier for the dog without us getting involved in luring that dog
yeah,
everywhere,
yeah,
right? But if we do need a lure, sometimes that's okay. But I think that that is the last thing that we're going to be doing once the dog really, we've kind of implemented a few other stages. The dog
yeah,
really doesn't get this, then we can kind of lure them and then start to take away that lure. But then, every time we lure, then that dog is going to be looking to us for
yeah,
that help, right? And
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want that. That's not empowering that dog. That's kind of giving that dog a crutch that I will show you,
yeah,
and 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 that's what I see a lot of times too, not just with my clients and their dogs, but my clients and their kids too, right? It's like we're not setting this dog up for success. We're setting them up to be codependent,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that's another aspect of this that's important to know. Um, what was your? I mean, how many? When did you become? And how did you find the NePoPo system?
Yeah, so no, I've always been inquisitive from the time I was sorry, from the time I was interested in training. I've always looked right for what's the best method, what's the best. I don't know what I didn't really call it a system at that time, but what are the best tactics in dog training, right? And then kind of like what you mentioned earlier, when you see dogs I can't put my finger on a moment when I can say I locked in on the Popo and thought, man, that's where it's at. But I do know that it was years before I ever went to school that it really got my attention, and it was the dogs is what really stood out to me. And I didn't even know at the time. I had no idea about ignition or Nuna Popo, or you're letting the dog figure it out, and that's what's causing things. I was clueless. All I knew was what I saw, and um, the impression that it made on me. And it took years to finally make the move to. I don't know how many schools that I would message Michael and say, hey, I want to go, and then she would message me fall apart. And then I remember the last time when I messaged and actually did go, I remember thinking when I was sending the email, like, they're going to blow this off because they've heard me cry wolf way too many times, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
First time I saw Bart Bellin was at an IACP conference, which is an International Association of Canine Professionals. And it blew my mind, dude. Like,
yeah,
because he basically, it's the role playing. And that's going to be a huge aspect of my gold school as well, is going to be role playing,
should be.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have to put ourselves in the perception of the animal, and then also learn through NePoPo process as well. And he took $100 bill. He asked for 3 volunteers and strapped e-collars on their wrists. Right. And dude, it was so cool. He was like, you get that $100, it's yours, you know, but he had different rules and things that he set up for these people. And to watch them, dude, watch them learn and fight through it and see how, like, if you want it bad enough, you're going to endure like a little bit more than those that don't want it as bad.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and this gal, man, she walked up. I mean, I just remember that will always stick with me. And I went and met Bart after that, and I remember him going like, "You need to shave. You look like shit," to my beard. But my beard, to be fair, was crazy. It was when I was first growing this magnificent. No, and I was like, dude, I want to learn from this guy. And so then I did some more research, and then I saw the dogs that he trained, and I was like, there's something behind this, man. I've never seen this. I've never seen these dogs explode like this. I've
Yeah,
never seen these dogs that are just, they're present, they're happy, they're focused, they're, like he says, they have heart and soul,
yeah,
and like those eyes are, he calls them burning like cigarettes, right? It's
yeah,
just like there's a desire that you see in this animal that I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen that to the degree that I see it here. The only time that I see it is when the dog does stuff on their own, right? And not me asking them to do stuff, and them to really really enjoy doing that. And that's what started my process. And I saved up some money. I borrowed some money, and went to silver school and gold school. It's not cheap, but it's worth it. And I'm so glad that I did. And my only regret, excuse me, is that I wish I did it earlier.
yeah. No kidding.
You
So
know,
I think that a lot of misconception is, and this is just because of the way the world is, what you don't get out of Bart and Michael is two people, right, that were good at training dogs and then eventually said, hey, we can make a system out of this and make money. That's not what you're getting. You're getting two people that developed a masterful system that ebbs and flows, right? It's got so many different principles in it. And then they made that available to everybody else. And so I don't think that you can have a complete system without a complete dog training system is NePoPo. And I don't, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, the combination of both, understanding the principles of classical conditioning, operant conditioning, um, shaping, lure, all that. It's where it all has a place, and each trainer is using a piece of that, right? But they don't, unless you understand it within a network and a system, you're using a piece of it, but you don't understand how that piece links to this piece. And if you just use this, what are you missing out on over here? And it,
or what are the drawbacks
second to none to me.
of doing this too much, and what are the expectations if we only adhere to this side of
Right.
the
Yeah.
the quadrants, or and that's where it gets to me. It's like, how many repetitions is this going to take for this dog to have a learned behavior, right?
Right.
And is that even doable? Is that achievable? Is that is that ethical?
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know not just to do for our clients, but to do for our dogs, and to say that you are a positive only motivator. Like, when we look at the timetable of when this will become a learned behavior, and how many repetitions that needs, to
Yeah.
me it's unethical because it's
It
not
is.
achievable.
Right. Yeah. So it's just a play on words, right? To sell a program, it's a play on words to fill your pockets, and
It's an appeal to emotion. It's a
sure.
logical fallacy as
Yeah.
well, right?
Sure.
You're selling people based on how they feel, and taking advantage, in my opinion, of their emotions and the state that they're in,
Sure.
instead of being like, look, man, this is going to be some some brutal truths here,
Yeah.
right? But being loving this dog too much has screwed up this
Yeah.
situation, and we need to not have so much love, but have some understanding as well, and some tough love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the toughening is a huge aspect of this. Is we need to toughen ourselves up too, and have some realistic expectations, but also have some tough love with the relationship that we have with our dog.
Agreed.
And it's not going to always feel good, right? But guess what? We don't always feel good, man. And
Sure.
to always feel good wouldn't be fun.
No. Yeah.
Because
No. We treat ourselves and our kids worse than we treat our dogs a lot of times, and you see that in households all the time. So
Michael talks about that.
yeah.
Remember her talking about that at
Yeah. Yeah.
NePoPo Silver School this year? I
Yeah.
mean, what do you remember about that?
About you have to.
Her appeal to, to treat people like this as well, like to not be so hard on people, to understand, to use the philosophy of that we've learned to work with people and their behavior too, and not just our loved ones, but everybody that we engage with. And
Yeah.
that the learning process is not just valuable with our relationship with these animals, but with people as well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You have to be graceful, and if you don't have that, then it's if we try to if you can't have that with people who you can communicate with the same language, right? We're both speaking English. Then how in the world can you communicate different principles or expectations to a dog that you're not even the same species? So unless you've really, really studied, you just can't do it. So it takes compassion, it takes patience, and it takes realizing that what you think is clear to a dog is not necessary. Why does fetch work, right? Good example. Why does the game of fetch even work, right? Because you have animals that have an instinctual prey drive. If it's not there, well, that was kicked my tripod, but if it's not there, right? It's live prey versus dead prey, right?
Right.
If when a dog makes a connection between when I throw the ball, it's live prey, right? The dog gets the ball, it stays dead. It's dead prey. Some dogs like dead prey more than others, but as soon as the dog makes a connection between bringing that ball back to me and now I can make that dead prey alive again, boom, you have fetch. But you have to understand those things, and it takes patience to do it the right way. It takes patience to do it in a way that will last. You can make a dog come back to you, right? But then what are you doing when you take the ball from a dog? Your negative punishment. The dog came to you and you took something from it that it wanted. So rather than communicate that you're keeping a game going to the dog, you've punished the dog.
Yeah.
So it just takes being clear and providing clarity.
Well, and it takes a forgiving heart as well, because we're
Yeah.
not going to bash that dog when he doesn't do it right, but sometimes we bash the people when they don't do it right.
Oh, so fast. Right. Yeah.
Right. And so just like we were forgiving and accept that the dog's going to make mistakes, that's what I took away from it. It's like, look, man, we have to also be forgiving and know that the people aren't going to do it right away, and we need to be open to that as well. It's a learning process, not just
Yeah.
with this animal, that it takes time and repetition and experience and doing things right and doing things wrong. It's going to happen with our people counterparts
Sure.
too, right? And it's important to know that, look, that's an element of this program too. Is like, look, we're not just talking about how we deal with dogs, we're talking about how we deal with our clients, we're talking about how we deal with ourselves too, and to find value in the work that we do and to charge accordingly for that as well. And I've learned a lot from them, just as this is a premium service, and knowing that one end of the aspect of Michael and Bart came from a psychological background, the other one came from a legal background, where Bart's family was lawyers, and that this professional aspect is a deep kind of consideration into the field that they're in. And we need to take that same consideration with the field that we're in as well. And
Right.
that's what helped me understand, like, oh wow, this is deep, man. This is something that takes time to understand, but it also benefits us not just emotionally, not just logically, but also financially as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but that takes learning how to know your value too. And I think that people that don't value themselves, it's easy for them to not value another person.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I'm going to head back to the comments. We do have comments, and if you guys have any comments, let me know. We have no bandana,
Yeah,
Michael.
there's that
Are you
here.
are you like a gangbanger or something, man? What's going on with
Yes,
you?
I'm gonna have to next time. I'll have one.
I think
So
I got one of
I
these
feel like
that
I'm
they
letting
gave us.
everybody down.
They give
Yeah.
us these
Yep.
Martins. Is that what you wear?
So yeah, I wear all of them. I have probably a dozen different ones,
Oh, dude,
different
I got so many of them too.
colors, and
I got them the first round where they didn't even come in these nice little plastic
yeah, yeah,
packages, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
NePoPo.
That's the whole reason I go back to the schools is to get another 2 bandanas.
There you go. Shared. You guys share this if you don't mind. Thank you, Teresa. You are putting some great content out there, Michael. You're keeping busy, putting in the hours plus the effort with your dogs. Keep it up, man.
Well, I have a lot of help. Trust me, no credit of anything that if I do anything right, it's probably not to my credit. So
Who's your
I,
help? You want to shout out some of your
yeah,
help?
so there's a lot of people that encourage me, right? And I'm thankful for those people. But Michael's, especially with this, well, with both my young dogs, Michael's helped me quite a bit. So, um, just master coaching, right, at its best. And this young dog that I have right now, the little black one, Legend, I've trained a lot of dogs, and it's the most challenging dog that I've ever had. And I know he's a good dog, but man, he's just my skill level is not there with him, and theirs is. So
Well, that's what's the good thing about having mentors and the good thing about asking help, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that takes us laying down our ego a little bit and saying, "Hey, man, I don't know what I don't know." And a lot of people just try to power through that shit. And what are some disadvantages that you would have if you were trying to power through it with this dog?
Uh, I don't think that I wouldn't get anything out of the dog's very independent. So for me the more that I try, the less he's just not interested, you know. So
What has Michael taught you? What's probably the biggest takeaway with this
well,
relationship?
so if you ask Michael and Bart what kind of trainers they are, they're not going to say positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. No, I think that they're good at all of that, right? But ignition training is
Mm.
kind of building an ignition in the dog, building a passion in the dog, and that's the art of it, is being able to build a love in the work for the dog. It's easy with a dopamine dog, right? Take my dog Venger, take it, any dopamine dog that's just out of the womb wants to, wow, it's just crazy about the work, right? That's easy. Those dogs will train themselves nearly. You
You
just
just have to
limit an aquarium, yeah.
set
But
up the parameters.
you take a dog that's independent and is more on an endorphin level, just a strong dog, and it takes a little more thinking and a little, I could talk about it, but it's new. It's not. It's foreign to me quite a bit. So it's just a challenge.
It's just a different approach, huh?
Yeah, it's hard to become the center of that dog's world, and you really need that.
That's right, man.
You cut out. You cut out just a little bit. I think you're losing signal some maybe.
Oh, I am. Well, whatever. We'll see what happens. It's a Starlink.
There we
But
go. Yeah, it's coming back in now.
okay, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah,
Elon.
yeah.
Um, what was I just saying? Dang it. Um,
I just lost about 30 seconds of.
okay. Dang it. But I think that what I was saying is like, yeah, I can't even remember. I'll go to the comments and hopefully it'll come back to me. Okay.
All right.
I'm loving this podcast. I can already say I'll listen to it again. That's right. Thank you, Teresa, for being here. And then good morning from New Zealand. Love your interviews. Thank you, Monique,
Wow.
for being here as well. It's important to keep hope high with our clients as much as dogs. NePoPo works for both, which I love the most. Lifestyle. I teach that to my clients. Absolutely. Hey, look, Jerome's here. I'm driving back from our first new French NePoPo Gold School, the Beagle Man. Awesome,
Yeah.
Jerome. Yeah, he was at the new Silver School, and he just had his new Gold School in France as well.
Yeah, I saw that post.
Yeah, that's
Congrats.
awesome. I want to go to France and hang out with him, dude. He's a great person, and that's a beautiful thing about this program too. It's worldwide, man, and we have
Worldwide.
people from France, from India. In fact, look at Kashi Vishweshwar is
Yeah.
here.
What a network, you can't beat that.
We have people from New Zealand. We got Lithuania here. Leonard, welcome. Good to have you. We have a dog here from Kashi. And anybody have questions or comments, let us know. And if anybody knows where I left off, remind me too, so I could get back to it. I think where I left off was just like, look, oh, I know exactly. I'll get to your question here just a moment here, Kashi. I have a client that wanted a house dog, just wanted a pet dog, but they had a working dog.
Hmm.
Right. And that dog loved the hunt. He liked the house.
Gotcha.
Right. And I'm like, man, he's got to love that house. He's got to love that affection. He's got to love, but he loves that hunt. And just like we were talking about with that pit bull earlier, like we can't deny this dog its purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a hard realization for people to have if they're not able to fulfill this dog's purpose, but they can find somebody that will be able to fulfill that dog's purpose. In my opinion, then that's where that dog needs to go.
Yeah, and that's a hard decision. That's a heartbreaking decision to make sometimes,
But I really respect it when people make that decision.
Yeah. What's best for the dog?
They're doing what's best for the dog in lieu of their own heartache,
Yeah.
and it's heart wrenching, dude. And ask me because I've given up dog. I mean, I've given dogs. I've given them to different people that have served them better.
Sure.
And I'm thinking about doing that to another dog here, and I just did to one of my poodles here, man. Like it's heart wrenching. I get it, and that's how I know it is because I've done it, but I can tell you that it is so much more fulfilling when you see that dog living in their element and
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that tail, like this dog's tail, dude. When I watch him,
yeah,
is just like this, and I'm like, man, I've never seen that in this dog. Like this is where they need to be,
yeah,
and I can only hope and pray. And I'm a believer, so I do pray quite a bit that these people will find the strength and the clarity that they did make the right decision, and I just honor them for taking and stepping through that emotional heartache to do
sure.
what's best for that dog, right? I got a question here from Kashi all the way from India. What is your criteria for identifying a dog that has now ignition through your training? Like I let the dog show me,
Yeah,
right? And show me through their enthusiasm, show me through. I mean, that's how I knew this dog was ready for the e-collar. Well, how I knew he's ready was like, first off, I have these chickens in the back there, right? And this dog's a hunting dog, and he's a pointer, and man, he's just like, you can watch him just stalking those chickens. And I tell people, if you ever if you ever don't think that your dog's aware of their whole body, every millimeter part of their body, watch that dog stalk,
oh
because
yeah,
the back leg, the front
yeah,
leg, is just like so slow, and
Yeah.
just like that dog is knowing and I'll poke him on the side and the dog doesn't budge, dude.
Yeah.
And I'll push him a little bit. The dog doesn't. It's just locked in. We go back to that area, and there was a hole in I have a chicken tractor where we moved this chicken coop around my property for the hens to peck, and there was a hole in the ground or something where those birds can get out, and those birds were all over the yard. And I was like, the dog just was like, this temptation is too great for me, that they're not contained anymore, dude. I'm out. And about jerked my arm off. I have a little, like, cut my pinky, jerked me so hard. And I was like, okay, buddy, you're ready for that
Yeah.
heat
Yeah.
collar, dude. Like, you're ready for a next level of consequence, but also of teaching, right? And just like me
Yeah.
talking to you from where you're just going to hit that end of that line so hard that you don't care. So I'm looking for toughness, I'm looking for the enthusiasm, and I'm looking for the love of that dog to kind of reach a level that they're ready for it. And it's hard to teach that, but when you know it, you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you agree? Is there anything I left out?
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums it up. I like for a dog to, for me, it's when a dog will get in your face and let you know, hey, I'm here, I'm ready, let's do this. So,
Yeah, and that shows a degree of trust in you
yeah,
as well. Like,
yeah,
I trust, I love, I'm right here, I'm invading the space. And just like Nelson Hodges and Todd McVicker, like, the dog's aware of what's underneath its front paws, underneath its chin, right? And so when those paws start to come on me, when that chin comes over me or something like that, that's another indicator to me of like, hey, let's step this up, or I'm ready for some engagement, I'm ready for some fun, I'm ready
yeah,
for an
yeah.
outlet here, right? What do you see in the future, man? What do you hope to achieve, and what are you where are you headed with all this?
Yeah, well, in business, there's no telling. I'm a little fluid there. Um, but in training, man, I mean, everybody wants to, right? But I want to go to the highest level. And I know that my skill level is not there yet, but I also know that I'm headed there. I'm not saying I'm headed there to the highest level, winning at the highest level, but every day I'm trying to do something different, something new. How can I improve? What did I miss out on yesterday? How did I get that wrong? I'm telling you, I can lay in bed every night. When I lay in bed, I think about, did I do my dogs right? What could I have done different? And I'm not the guy that just goes to bed and forgets about it. Like, it bothers me, I lose sleep over and trying to contemplate, why was I not able to get my dog to do this, or what, you know? So, yeah, I want to win. So, and I
Strive.
know winning's not necessarily, you'll go broke trying to win, right? You're not going to pay your bills trying to win. So there's
Hey,
got to
let's see.
be, I don't know.
Finn, what's up, Finn? Similar to Kashi's question, if a dog is good at a task, it has motivation, fire in the belly, understanding of the task, what their body needs to do. Are there any other key aspects that you boys feel are elemental?
So I'll read that again. If a dog is good at a task.
I think that the relationship with you is also a fundamental aspect of that. And because then you can start to challenge and guide that dog to do other things that might, like, for instance, with the long jump or something like that, we can always up the degree of difficulty, or bring them to a different environment, or bring in multiple dogs, or bring in different distractions. There's always these variables that we can always tweak, but that trust needs to be a fundamental aspect, not just the motivation and the understanding of the task, but the trust with you that you're going to be putting them into a situation that they're going to be setting up to win, even if they can't figure it out at first, right? Then that's where the motivation and the understanding of, like, look, we're working here, that my handler here has put me into an environment that I've never seen before, but I'm going to work
Yeah.
through it, right?
He's
So
he's never set me up to fail before. He's not doing it now either. Yeah.
right, even though I just failed a couple times, like, obviously, I did not do the right thing, I'm gonna keep trying, and the
Yeah.
failure isn't necessarily, shutting down that dog, it is actually encouraging that dog in a way
That's a good point.
to keep trying, right? Yeah, trust and relationship, yep, that's what exactly, trust plus relationship, is crucial to that, right? In fact, it's a cornerstone, I believe, because you're going to be setting up situations where the dog is going to fail, right? And you don't want that failure to for that dog to lose hope.
Yeah.
Anything else you think?
No, I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and every dog is different too, man. And some dogs. I mean, if they do lose hope, that we're able to put them in a situation where it's right back where we can recharge it, right? Where
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can, be like, "Okay, cool. Well, I've messed up. Sorry, dude.
yeah,
I did the wrong thing or something." And then put them back into a situation where we're right back at the beginning of the motivation, the fire in the
sure.
belly, and the hope is right back where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Cool, man. How do people find you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, just on Facebook, really, or yeah, just message me on Messenger, Facebook.
Here, let me
That's
put
it.
up your Facebook here. Um, and I'm going to be talking to some more people from Gold School. I've been talking to Jacqueline, talking to Yoris here pretty soon, talking to some of my bird people. I'm actually talking to somebody out of the Midwest from Steel Stone Kennels or something like that, bird hunting guy that I really
Oh,
liked watching his videos, and I just want to bring people into the fold here that, not all NePoPo people, right? Even though I am a big believer and I'm a gold multiplicator myself. Um, and then also send me the dates of your gold school here. Let me see if I can find it right now while I'm looking here. That I also want people that are all aspects of the dog training world. And I mean, there's so many facets of this dog training world, man. So many facets. Here's a link to your Facebook page. And in the meantime, I'm going to look for that. What do you have do they make you a graphic of the,
yeah, it should be on there, and then it's also it's on my Facebook page also somewhere.
cool blue dog canine training? He was at the NePoPo Silver School. I'm going to be doing a live stream with you too, buddy. So I wanted to see if he would do one with me. I asked him in person and he agreed to it. So he's going to be coming on here pretty soon. It's on the which one? The silver or the NePoPo?
Yeah, it's on there, and then it's also on. We have a group on Q discussions in modern dog training. It's pinned at the top of that as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
I'm part of that group as well.
yeah,
Maybe we should do like a simulcast here. So let me see. 7:31 is your registration deadline. I'm going to share the screen here real quick. So here it is, you guys. 18th of September through the 22nd of September. And it's going to be at Jackie Barbiere's place, Terra Incognito LLC, Seymour. And registration deadline is 7:31. So at the end of July,
yeah.
get in there. And how many students are you going to be having attend? If you
Yeah, so 10 people
Okay.
max, and that's me and Dominic. It's, I mean, pretty clear up there. So we're going to cover all the fundamentals, focused on pretty much everything from, but how to apply this to pet dogs, and then flex pole, box work, scent discrimination, obedience, shaping, role playing games, and then we'll put in some tracking. I know Dominic and myself are both IGP helpers, so that's available as well. Dominic has done way more bite work and stuff than I have, so he also does Mondio ring. So He's a decoy in Mondio as well. So.
Cool. Well, and every gold school is going to focus on different.
Yeah. I think you cut out a little.
Yeah, it's
There
still.
it is.
Yeah,
There it
it's doing something funky here.
Gotcha.
So, oh, we got somebody in France or French here. I don't understand.
I don't either.
So let me hear. Hold on, dude. I will see what I can do about. I'm gonna have to put some what do you call it when you do the different languages? I can't think the translations. I'm gonna put some translations on this video as well for everybody. But let me see. How can I'm gonna see if I can do a quick Google Translate here. And then anything else that we left out at all that you want to mention?
No. I mean, I don't. Not that I know of.
Here, let's see here.
I think the new silver school is in. There's another silver school in November in the States, so it's probably worthy of mention.
Yeah, that's what that one is in.
November's. I forgot the dates.
Dude, that's so cool. So, is there? I just put this on here. Is there? What he asked is there going to be? Is there a YouTube replay for French subtitles? Yeah, I'm going to put French subtitles, especially for you, Michael. Michael Omk. And then we have one more question for you. What level dogs typically show up for gold school? I had to put down my high level Dutch after he attacked me and wouldn't stop. Oh, damn. I'm sorry, dude. That's the aspect of this that is kind of a dark aspect of it, right? Is the degree and also managing some of these high maintenance dogs, right? And also euthanizing dogs, behavioral euthanization, right? And I'm sorry to hear about that, about your Dutchie. What level of dogs typically show up for gold school? I mean, high level dogs a lot of times, man. Like even the gold school that I went to with Bart and Michael, we were doing a man trailing exercise, and one of the students let his pit bull go, and the pit bull wasn't interested in following him, dude. He was interested in turning around and getting the Malinois right behind us.
Oh, geez.
Right. And so luckily we had a line on that dog and we managed it pretty quick. But I mean, this is something that that we must understand. And also for people that are putting on gold schools, we have to take protocols and procedures to make sure that everybody is safe. And I mean, I might paint one of my doors red on one side, green on one side, meaning that this is the door that you exit. If you see a green door, that's the door you go through. If you see a red door, you do not. It's like stop and go, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of these military and police dog outfits where they train them is very, very concise, because you do not want these dogs crossing paths. A lot of times it might set everybody up for failure. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, no. So I kind of read that question in two different ways too. So yeah, all levels of dogs too. So if I was going to gold school, one of the things you shouldn't worry about is taking a dog that's fully trained, right? Because that's why you're going. If you're already perfect in everything you do, then why even go? So I would say if that's the way the question's aimed, then the only prerequisite that I would have is that your dog be, or that somebody's dog be the clicker be charged.
Yes.
Because you don't want to spend your time there charging your clicker. You want that to be charged coming through the gate. And then from there, everything else is why you're there. So.
Yeah. I agree. Clicker charging is fundamental, because you use that clicker a lot in the box feeding, getting them out of that clicker. You use that clicker a lot in shaping, marking behavior with the operant stuff. So prerequisite, charge that clicker with the dog. And there's lots of different videos on how to charge that clicker.
Yeah.
And dog in, dog out. That's exactly right. And I believe that you're an old police handler. So, and ready for the e-collar too. Good point. What do you think about ready for the e-collar?
Yeah, so I think you should understand how to use the e-collar and understand the theory of negative reinforcement. But I think you should understand it, but I'm not expecting somebody to have applied that yet. By the end of Gold School, yes. Um, show that you know what you're doing and that you can demonstrate it. But some of that's going to be cleared up through role playing games in school. So.
Yes. Well, and with mine, I want to have in my tuition for my Gold School. I want to include a chameleon. And then we're going to be doing a e-collar, not just a Gold School, but also an e-collar certification course where we're just going to be spending a day on going through that e-collar stuff too, just like we did in Gold School. Awesome, man. Well, my little puppy needs to go out. He's going crazy out of the crate here. I'm going to go let him run, let him have some
All right.
Get it sprung from his reprieve here. And that is, I meant the dog is ready to begin the e-collar. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you, dude.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I look forward to hanging with you again. And dude, I'm here if you need anything. And I'll let you know if I'm in Arkansas. I'm going to go visit Teresa one of these days, and I'll come by and see you. And
she's in the nice part of the state. It's really, my in-laws, my father-in-law lives up there. It's really beautiful.
Awesome. I don't think I've ever been. I think I've drove through there a little bit, but I'd love to check it out, man. And
she's in the Ozarks, so Fayetteville, Springdale. That's the Ozark Mountains. So,
what food is Arkansas known for?
Oh, man, cholesterol.
I'm down.
Yeah. I don't think we really have a food that we're known for. So
they're only 3 hours away from you. Cool. Rice. That's funny. All right, man. Well, you stay there, Michael. Say goodbye to you on the studio, but everybody else, thank you for watching. Check out my Patreon page if you guys enjoy this conversation. And again, thank you to all my Patreon supporters for saving my butt in Missouri when I needed your help. I sure do appreciate you guys. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful day.